I am ridiculously excited about stress. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I think it's the geeky science girl in me that is just fascinated with the chemical reaction that happens in our bodies when we're stressed. I mean, it's there, it's instinctual. Way back when the tiger came out of the jungle and we had to get away, cortisol flushed our systems, that fun little stress hormone, and our heart rate goes up and our blood pressure goes up and our blood even gets stickier so that if we're injured, we won't bleed to death, which is great. But the thing is, we all have metaphorical tigers coming out of metaphorical jungles all the time. And our bodies react the same way. That cortisol level goes up. And that's not a bad thing. Stress isn't good or bad. It just is. But another thing that I find fascinating about it is your body doesn't know the difference between the tiger and a surprise birthday party. It's the same chemical reaction. So it's there for a good reason. The problem is, if we live our lives at this high alert all the time, that stress chemical never has a chance to come out of your system. It's supposed to ebb and flow. It goes up when we need it, and then it goes down. But if we live up here all the time, it never has a chance to go back down. And that's when it starts to cause us trouble. Because that high level of cortisol will eventually injure your heart, which is one of the reasons stress is a risk factor for heart disease. It's something that we all need to pay attention to. And especially as women, stress management seems to be all wrapped up in this work-life balance thing. And I'll be honest, this work-life balance thing has never really made a lot of sense to me. And I will tell you that for years I've felt a little bit like a hypocrite standing up in front of groups like this, offering work-life balance strategies, when, if I were honest, my life was about this far from chaos at any given moment. I'd think I got everything all worked out, and then something would happen and blow it all away again. So this work-life balance thing wasn't working for me, but I knew what it was supposed to feel like. I knew because I had that moment. That's 5 days after my girls were born. It was the first time that we held the girls at the same time. Interestingly enough, there was a newspaper reporter there. So, I know, life was a little weird right around then. But what was interesting about this moment is, even with, if you look closely, all of the tubes and things that were still attached to me, and the pain and the uncertainty and everything that was swirling around us, in that moment, I was the most content I have ever been. I had everything I needed. I love this picture. Now, a couple of days later, we were back in the NICU, and I turned to my husband, I'm like, wow, it is really loud in here today. There were kids crying, and there were beeping and alarms and all kinds of things going on, and my husband turns to me and says, honey, it's been this loud the whole time. You just didn't notice. Okay, I was concentrated on that little bubble of contentment, just the four of us. I didn't notice all the things that were going on around us. And as we left the hospital and the girls came home, there was more things swirling around us. Life just started calling for our attention. It was harder and harder to pay attention to that bubble of contentment. But I knew that that was important. That was the gift I was given, that I knew that that was what I needed to pay attention to. And so I thought, if this makes sense to me, I wonder if it makes sense to other people. So I went out and got some data around work-life balance. Let's figure out what this really says. So more than 1,000 people participated in the study, telling me how stressed they were and what caused them stress. And in the top 5 things that cause stress for all the participants, which one of those do you think is work-life balance? Just call out a color. Purple? It's blue. I know. The results came in, I'm like, really? Only 9% of people rated anything related to work-life balance as their top stressor. And interestingly enough, that work-life balance issue was their job was negatively affecting their health. That was not what I expected to find. Now, but that was everybody. Surely if we looked at women, that would be different, right? Nope, didn't change. But wait, if we looked at women with children, clearly that might make a difference. Yes, it did. That 9% turned to caring with children. But only 9% of women with children said that was their top stress factor. Well, hold on. Interesting, too. Same answer for men with children, which means parenting is hard, but for most of us, even most of us who are parents, it's not the thing that is causing us the most stress. So what is? So when we looked at it, it was getting things done in the time that was allowed, the pace at work, making a mistake, and an uncertain future. All of these things didn't have anything to do with work-life balance. Like, that's really just about being busy. Well, that makes sense to me. That feels right to me. And in fact, that crazy swirl of chaos, this sounds familiar. So I'm a professional speaker, which I know is a weird thing to have as a profession. And it's kind of lonely because I don't have coworkers. So I developed a mastermind group with 3 other speakers. We don't live in the same state. We get together twice a year to work on our businesses and then talk on the phone in between. And I will admit, the first couple of times we got together, I was still trying to make them think I had it all under control. So I'd ask for a little help over here, a little insight over there, but I wasn't really telling the truth of what was really going on. So the next time we got together, though, and it may have been influenced by the bottle of wine that we drank the night before, could be, I decided to lay it all out on the table, literally. I have a little office supply dependency problem. I don't know that I'm alone in that, but I almost always have Post-its in my bag. Yeah. I kind of knew this was going to be a hit. So, in different sizes and shapes. So I took out those in the night, and before bed, I wrote down everything that was taking my energy, everything that I was paying attention to, and the next morning, I took them all out and I laid them on the table. And I said, these are all the things that and there were a lot of them. And I said, this is why I can't get anything done. There's just too much. I can't do it. And so after they heard me talk it all through, they started picking it up. And my friend Tom would pick up one and say, so what about this? Is this important? And I said, yes, that's the one with my husband's name on it. We're going to keep that one. And then he picked up one of a project that I was working on. He said, what about this? Is this earning you any money? I'm like, no, but it's a really good idea. He said, well, how much work is it going to take to get this done? I was like, it's a lot of work, but it's a really good idea. He said, are you excited about this? I said, well, no, but it's a really good idea. And he crumpled it up and threw it on the floor. And it took my breath away just a little bit because he crumpled up something and threw it away and said, you need to stop paying attention to that. And even though I was like, I'm like, you're right. And throughout the day, they took more things off my table till I was left was something I could actually do. And in the next 6 months, I was the most productive in my business and the happiest in my home life that I had been in years. Because when we took those things away, I was able to pay attention to what was important. And it reminded me so clearly about something that I have known for years. That we don't really like balance. We have trouble with busy. And if we could just take some of those things off the table, if we could say no and say to ourselves, saying no really means saying emphatically yes to what's important, things start to make better sense. Now, I've done this post-it exercise with women all over the country, and almost without fail, when I say, is there a note down there with your name on it? There's not. Because we tend not to put ourselves in the mix. But it's very important for us to pay attention to our own health so that we're able to withstand the swirl that goes around us. And for years, I've talked about wellness as a triangle, about moving more, eating better, and stressing less. And now I know for certain that when that went up, someone in here said, oh, great. Another skinny chick trying to tell me what to do. And perhaps you didn't use the word chick. I get it, though. But I want to remind you, this was me after I'd gained 80 pounds in my pregnancy. And you might be saying to yourself, oh, but you were pregnant. Yes, I was. That was taken 2 days before the girls were born. I was 7 months pregnant, 80 pounds. And I don't know about anybody else, but what I heard during my pregnancy is, don't worry. As soon as you have those babies, those pounds are going to fall right. That's a lie. So this is me 6 months after the girls were born. 50 or 30 of those pounds had fallen right off, but 50 of them had taken residence in my backside and decided to stay around for a while. And by that point, I graduated from cardiac rehab, which is great. When something happens to your health, and I know the other survivors in the room know this, it's scary. So going in, regaining your stamina and your strength and your confidence is very important. But then at the end of that, I was supposed to go home and do 20 to 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise every day in order to make this heal. You would think having a heart attack at age 35 would have turned me into the biggest workout queen in the world. But it didn't. I could not find the motivation to get on that stupid bike on the stand in the family room and do 20 minutes at the end. I hated that bike. I just couldn't do it. And in my former life, I was a dance teacher and a choreographer, so I didn't really have to find the time or the motivation to do exercise. It was just part of what I did on a regular basis. But now, I've got little babies, and I have to find the time to get on that stupid bike, and I just wasn't doing it. But in my former life, I was also an adaptive movement specialist, which means that I was all about making movement work. So I found out ways to fit it into my already busy day. I am a big fan of the pedometer. I particularly love the Fitbit because it gives you data, and as you know, I've already admitted, I like data. It also allows you to compete with other people, including my sister. We're sisters, we're competitive. She, however, is the queen of the pedometer because the secret of the pedometer is that you can cheat. And I'm not talking about putting it in the dryer. That is actually cheating. But she gets out of the shower in the morning and straps it to her underwear. True story. And it's not that she doesn't want to miss any steps, because she knows I'm always on her heels. She proceeds to brush her teeth like this. So when the things go, we have almost come to blows at family dinners about what counts as cheating. But this is not cheating. I mean, is this any less effort than this? No. It's about making the most of every opportunity. So my sister works in a congressman's local office. She's on the phone during the day. She's moving. Anytime she's on her feet, she's moving, which I know because I stalk her on the Fitbit app. We're sisters. I will tell you, however, if you're standing in the line at the grocery store, it is good to be someplace that has music on or have the earbuds in, because then people just think you're listening to something fun. And think about it. Isn't there a piece of music that if it came on when you're doing dishes in the kitchen, you'd be dancing, right? And finding ways to just fit that exercise in is perfect. I know you've been sitting for a little while. Let's try it. Everybody up for a second. So let's pretend, or maybe you do have a pedometer on, and just give it a little wiggle. So could you do that while you're brushing your teeth in the morning and at night? Could you do that while you're brushing your hair? Now, if you're putting on makeup, you do need to stop for the eyeliner and the mascara. Could you do that while you're talking on the phone? Absolutely you could. All right, you guys are great sports. Thank you, everybody. So my point is, you can fit that in to your already busy day. And if you can get 10,000 of these or steps or however you're going to count those little kchks, that's equivalent to 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, which is fantastic. A little bit of this can cut your risk of heart disease in half. And that motion, that action, that exercise is a great way to reduce your cortisol level too. So it works both ways. So we don't have a lot of time together, but in your gift bag, you have my book, The Busy Woman's Guide to a Healthy Heart, which gives you more ways to fit heart-healthy strategies into your already busy day. You also have a little card that has that swirl on it. If you're ready to do that little exercise with the notes, I will give you access to a secret page that has a video that walks you through how that exercise works, because I'd love you to walk away with some things that could really make a difference for you. So today, you're going to receive a lot of information. But I know information really doesn't make us change behavior. I told you I knew that I was supposed to go home and do 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise every day. I had the information, I knew what I was supposed to do, but I wasn't doing it. And in fact, I didn't do it until one night my husband sat me down. And he said, "Honey, I see what you're doing. And more importantly, I see what you're not doing. You're not doing the work to get better." And I had this whole list of all the things that I needed to get done during the day that were more important than getting on that stupid bike. And he said, "Honey, none of that is important. If you don't do the work, you're not going to get better. And if you're not here, our family doesn't exist." And in that moment, I saw all of the things I didn't want to miss with my family. I didn't want to miss those little babies growing up and going to kindergarten, going through elementary school and middle school, going to high school. That's where we are right now. I want to watch them graduate from high school. I want to cry a little bit when I leave them at college. I want to watch them fall in love. I want to dance with my husband at their weddings. I want to welcome their children into our family. And I want to hold my husband's hand and watch the sunset night after night after night. I was given the gift of a heart attack at age 35. I know none of that is given. I have to do the work to get there. We all do. But I tell you what, these people, they are my whole world. They're my why. They're why I make sure there's not too many Post-its on my table. They're why I get on the stupid bike. They're why I don't eat fried chicken. Yeah. Unless it's a really special occasion. I love fried chicken. They're my whole world. So my question for you is, who's your whole world? Who makes it worth doing what you need to do? Because I know for certain, if you connect the motivation with the information, that's when real change is possible. So I am so confident that sometime during this program, this beautiful event today, you heard something, you said, aha, that I could do. And so as you leave here today, I encourage you to connect that aha, I can do that, to the motivation, to your why, and go on out and take on the trouble with busy. Thank you very much.